Hey guys, LevelCap here and welcome to This Week in Gaming, your weekly news recap on everything going on in the world of video games. This week was a surprisingly divisive one for Battlefield 6 players. Roblox's controversial issues boiled over into a major lawsuit, PUBG announced a serious change, and much more. The second open beta weekend for Battlefield 6 kicked off again to somewhat more mixed reviews than the initial beta phase. This time around, DICE added Rush and the new Empire State map as content, but neither seems to be what fans were hoping for. Rush is limited to infantry-only 12v12 matches, which is pretty small scale compared to what classic Rush has been. Likewise, the Empire State map is yet another small-scale infantry-focused map in a beta that generally lacks large-scale all-out warfare that the franchise is known for. There's also a new round of technical issues with the beta, like DLSS upscaling suddenly being MIA from the settings menu. Also, now that the out-of-bounds exploits are more or less well-known, they've become rampant issues with every match on the Cairo map being rife with rooftop campers. There's also concern from diehard players that EA and DICE have purposely buried the closed weapon playlist at the tail end of matchmaking options to skew data against such a playlist's inclusion or prominence in the full release. Now, all that said, the second beta weekend has already proven to be yet another wild success for the game. Its peak concurrent player count on Steam has already crested 400,000, and it'll likely go up even further over the weekend. Now, personally, I actually have been enjoying the Rush game mode. I think Breakthrough more or less has filled the shoes of what classic Rush has been, and in some ways done a better job of balancing out the capture zones, whereas having two MCOM focal points on a 32-player game could often feel a little too over the top. I kind of agree with making the mode smaller and having it cater to a different playstyle than just being a slightly different variation on Breakthrough, but that's just my personal taste. If you preferred the classic Rush, then I could see why you would be upset. And now that the larger player base is getting their hands on Empire State and realizing that this beta is showing off 4 pretty tight-knit maps, I can understand why people are getting a little concerned over the overall map pool as well. Again, at launch, we're going to have 5 more maps than this, with at least 2 of them being qualified as large-scale maps, so hopefully that's enough. But regardless, I think DICE is getting a lot of good feedback here, so hopefully they'll plan some of their post-launch maps around larger-scale conflicts, or at least more medium-scale ones. Roblox has found itself yet again at the center of a child exploitation controversy. This week, the platform banned multiple accounts held by a YouTuber who goes by Schlep over his child predator sting operation that he's run in-game. Roblox didn't directly address Schlep's ban, but issued a statement saying the vigilantes we've banned have taken actions that are both unacceptable and create an unsafe environment for users. Similar to actual predators, they often impersonate minors, actively approach others, then try to lead them to other platforms to have sexually explicit conversations, which is against our terms of use. Now, it is worth noting that the To Catch a Predator style content creators have become quite problematic in many areas, since many of their quote-unquote investigations result in entrapment that undermines official investigations by actual authorities or ends up turning into baseless harassment campaigns against innocent people. So Roblox's claims aren't necessarily without merit. It's really just the pot calling the kettle black, as a multi-billion-dollar game studio can barely manage to police their own platform. Even Roblox's own CEO has cautioned parents from letting them use Roblox if they're not comfortable with it. Schlep claims that his operations resulted in the arrest of 6 alleged child predators. Roblox in general has serious issues with the exploitation of children dating back to the platform's earliest days. Multiple investigations have led to the arrest of predators that use Roblox to approach their victims. Roblox has attempted to enforce content restrictions, age limitations, automated moderation, and other things to prevent adults from preying on adolescent players, but many view these efforts as inadequate, hence YouTubers like Schlep attempting to expose predators on the platform. As a result of Schlep's ban and subsequent media focus, the state of Louisiana has filed a lawsuit against Roblox for failing to implement proper safety systems that protect children. The announcement drove Roblox's stock prices down 9% and also lined up with Qatar joining several other countries in banning the platform recently. Now, in other but also heavily related news, there's a recent passing of a UK law called the Online Safety Act. This law requires online platforms to verify the age of their users with facial ID technology or some form of official ID like a state government-issued ID card. Affected websites range from porn, gambling, to YouTube, and potentially even Wikipedia. Roblox is beginning to comply with the law, and Xbox players in the UK will be required to verify their age to unlock the platform's full set of features like chat and game invites. However, opponents of the law point out a litany of privacy issues and major failings in objectives like digitizing millions of government IDs that could potentially be hacked and stolen, or games like Death Stranding and its photo mode being used to thwart the facial scans. In a nutshell, it appears there is a fast-moving effort to effectively censor the entire internet that is gaining traction at an alarming rate. Steam and itch.io recently relented to pressure from payment processors to censor adult content on their storefronts. The pressure was the result of calls to action from conservative activist groups. Overnight, many games were removed from both platforms for simply being considered adult content, and most recently, Steam disabled PayPal support in several regions. It appears to many that the protection of our children is being used more or less as a scapegoat for a broader movement to censor basically the entire internet. It's difficult to see just how far this movement is going to go, but if history's any indicator, these systems can and likely will be exploited by government bodies. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is taking a shocking turn and shutting down on last-gen consoles. The game will officially become unplayable for both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One players on the 13th of November. Existing accounts can be transferred to PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series consoles before the shutdown, and users will be automatically given the next-gen version of the game on the 13th. In related news, PUBG's creator Brendan Green has launched the open beta for his upcoming survival game Prologue, Go Wayback. The game features massive procedural open-world environments with brutal mechanics like weather that affects how you traverse the terrain. The game is one of 3 ongoing projects at Green's studio with the goal of creating a massive MMO-style survival game set on a procedurally generated planet-scale map. Helldivers 2 is getting a Halo ODST crossover. The upcoming content was teased at the end of the recent trailer for the game and featured one of its city maps drenched in rain, with a short snippet of ODST's soundtrack playing as a drop pod descends. The game is launching for Xbox consoles on the 26th, so it's likely the crossover event will launch sometime around then. STALKER 2 is getting some major technical upgrades and new content through the rest of 2025. The devs announced an updated roadmap this week that includes an engine upgrade to Unreal Engine 5.5.4, plus new content like night vision gear and major AI updates. And while the engine upgrade will bring a wealth of optimization improvements, it'll likely lack a key feature from the latest build of Unreal Engine 5.6 that implements foliage support for its nanite features. Hopefully the engine upgrade the devs are working on will make big optimization strides in other areas. As for why they aren't upgrading directly to 5.6, well, it's still a relatively new build of the engine and not all the kinks have been worked out yet. Plus, even adding new features to a game that's already shipped can require massive amounts of rework, so it's hard to say if some of that new foliage nanite tech could even be retroactively integrated to the game. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 might not be an $80 release. Its release date and some associated info leaked this week with a November 14th launch date and a $70 price tag for the base edition. It also won't be launching on the Nintendo Switch 2, at least initially. As part of Microsoft's acquisition of Activision, they agreed to support third-party platforms like Nintendo and signed a 10-year deal to bring their games to Nintendo's consoles. And that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. I hope you guys have been enjoying the Battlefield content. If you want to see my more expert guide on the Battlefield 6 beta, check out this video here. It's likely going to explain some things that you didn't know about. And if you enjoyed this news video, don't forget to drop me a like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. This is Levelcap, signing off.